This is the gold icing mix from Evil Cake Genius. It is marketed as a royal icing mix. You can see on the label, it has the ingredients, egg albumin, which is the egg white powder, cream of tartar. This is all similar ingredients to a regular royal icing mix, which is what this is supposed to be, and it's supposed to be metallic. So you don't have to pipe the icing and then paint over the top of it. So I'm going to open it up real quick to see what it looks like. Wow, it's gold, like a powder. Okay, so we are going to put this in the mixer and see what the icing looks like. I know I said I was going to put it in the mixer, but then I actually looked at the instructions, and it's such a small amount that making it in the mixer doesn't really make sense. So I am going to use my decades-old hand mixer that has, you'll see it's definitely seen those years, but I won't judge your hand mixer if you don't judge me mine. So the instructions say to mix 1/4 cup of the icing mix with 1 teaspoon of water before stenciling. This doesn't really give us a lot of instructions for like mixing up, so I'm gonna kind of mix this the same way that I mix my icing normally, and that is I'll put the water in the bowl first. This way the powder doesn't stick to the bowl, and then I'm going to add 2. Hopefully this works out. 2 1/4 scoops of powder. I'm clearly a very precise measurer. Royal icing is just so subjective. I don't feel like I have to be super precise because I can adjust the water to powder ratio after it's been mixed up and I see what the consistency is. Okay, so this is 2 1/4 scoops or a half scoop, and I've used actually not a ton of that jar, which is surprising, and that's great to know that we can use this more than once. So I'm going to use my electric mixer and mix this together and see what it looks like. Okay, I can already tell this is really powdery. I'm gonna get a spoon and just see if maybe, yeah, it's definitely a paste. I'm gonna need a little bit more water. I'll just add 1 more at a time. Though I want to add 2. I'm just gonna do 1. Okay, I'm glad I only added 1. Seems to be a good thick consistency. Interesting, it feels very elastic, I guess. Like I thought it would be thick. Like it looks thick when it's kind of like those cornstarch gelatinous mixes. If you stir really fast, it's thick, but then it actually smooths out like a much thinner icing. I don't know if you can see this though, it's very, very gold, which is fantastic. I would say this is probably, like, look at how thin that looks, but at the same time it looks like a paste. Super interesting. So judging consistency, I normally bang my bowl on the counter a couple of times, but I don't even need to do that to get it to smooth out. But because it has this unique paste consistency at the same time, I'm gonna whip this for just another second and see if I can kind of help get rid of that elasticity in it. just want to clarify that elasticity isn't necessarily bad with royal icing, but it makes the icing heavier, which leads to more problems with cratering. So I just want to give it enough air that it's not gonna, this is much better, so definitely mix it up for a few minutes. I would recommend, honestly, if you're going to buy this product, to mix up quite a bit of it, and then whatever you don't use, just leave in the freezer for later, because it doesn't really make sense to be mixing up such a tiny amount of icing at any one time. All right, I'm gonna put this in a piping bag, and we're gonna see what it looks like while piping, and then after it's dry. So I used half a cup of the mix to make this icing, and just under 3 teaspoons of water, and it looks like it's about the perfect ratios for piping. We'll see when we start piping it on a cookie, but I just want you to notice this is all the icing it makes, which is great because usually you're only using gold for detail work, like lettering or the last minute details, but this is all the icing that half a cup of the mix makes. So I have a 1.5 tip on this piping bag, which is smallish, which will be great so we can see how it comes out of a piping bag, if it's going to clog or stick or come out smoothly. And I have a black cookie, which will give us some good contrast as well. It's coming out of the piping bag pretty well. It's nice and smooth. It's not stretching or pulling. There's no air bubbles. You can see I can hold it pretty high above the cookie and it's not breaking. I haven't had any bits of icing get stuck in my tip. Ooh, I think I'm in love. I'm just gonna pipe some of this icing into little dots to see how long it takes to dry, how well it dries, what it tastes like when it's dry. I have tasted the wet icing and it's actually not bad. Not bad, it tastes pretty good. The powder tastes awful, so don't taste the powder. But this is something interesting I'm looking at right here. These ones look grainy and pasty, but if I just wiggle it just a little bit, that surface really, really smooths out and is shiny. Kind of like in the bowl, how it looked like a paste until it got just a little bit jostled, and then it looked really, this is so, I think I'm addicted to playing with it now. I didn't see that graininess when I was piping the details with the 1.5 tip, but I'll be interested to see if it makes a difference with a larger tip. So let me grab a larger tip and see how it comes out that way. I am seeing a tiny amount of graininess on the surface of these pipe letters. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in for you. So you can kind of see there's a tiny bit of graininess, but actually as these letters are sitting, it is smoothing out. So I would be confident in using this to pipe even larger decorations on cookies. Okay, so it's been a couple of days. This icing is as dry as it's going to get. I wanna show you, first of all, this piped lettering, it's pretty strong. It's definitely making a good transfer. These dots, they are still a little soft. It's quite a bit of pressure to be able to break it. So it's kind of like royal icing that's had additional corn syrup added to it. You can see if I drop this, it's not going to break. It does require pressure. If I could definitely stack these cookies. This thin icing here, the thin piped icing, it's not crumbling off, it's not breaking. So you would be great to use this icing for small gold details, but if you are going to make large piped areas, it is not as strong or hard as regular royal icing. But that's okay, because honestly, this gold icing is probably something that we would use for these tiny, precise gold details. So in the end, it's perfect still.